No intro. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Crazy.
I know. I was
Right?
like, I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, okay. Anyways, guys, welcome to From the Sidelines. We are live from Sports Fluent Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X at the moment. And joining me today, as you can see, it's a full house. We have Cody, we have Josh, our new guy from last week, and then we also have Jackson, who you guys already know. And my name is Monique. I will be your host for tonight. We have a few topics we're going to talk about, but all of them centralized into one big topic. And that topic is about the rules of the game of the NFL and what has changed, what has stayed, what we agree on, some that we probably don't agree on. That will be what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we're going to hit it off with the first one. This is something that Josh brought up in his list of topics for tonight's show, and it's about the regular season overtime format, as well as we can talk about the playoff overtime format as well in this topic. So I'm gonna go over to Josh because you brought it up. Josh, why don't you explain them? Give us a little bit of context for our audience that are listening, and then explain what your opinion is of this rule.
Yeah. So it used to be a thing. I'm not sure exactly what it was because it used to be a thing. No matter what team scored, field goal or not, in overtime, that was it. That was a wrap. And then it
Mm,
went to whoever team was that scored a touchdown first. That's it. It's a wrap. It's done. And now we're just on a point. Now, no matter what the opposing team does, let's start with the
mm,
ball, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, the other team will also have a chance now to mimic that, if not obviously overcome that as well, as Josh Allen had to deal with a couple years back, not
yep.
having a chance to wrap it up himself.
Okay, and what do you think about that rule? Do you agree with the fact that it should be more fair to the fact that the other team should have possession of the ball, or do you think like, oh no, the original rule was fine, like it is what it is? Like, what do you think, Josh?
Yeah, as a player standpoint, put myself in that position, I 100% agree. Like, yeah, absolutely. Let's give us a chance to punch you right
Yeah.
back,
Mm,
100%. And us, like fan version wise, us watching the game, yeah, let's see what the other team can do. Like, let's see, because if like another great quarterback does not have a chance to put the team on his back
hmm.
to like chance to lead them to victory, then it's kind of around a robbing entertainment as well, as my opinion.
True, true. Okay, I'm gonna go to Jackson next. What do you think about this rule? Do you agree with it, or are you for the original rule of like the first possession and the first touchdown wins the game?
Yeah, I think you're going to find a large majority of the fans are kind of wondering why this hasn't already happened, like why it took so long to get
Mm,
here. We've had some high power offenses. Like actually, this past year was a very less offensive year than years past.
mm-hmm.
So with just the skyrocketing NFL offenses and just the production, the amount that you can produce, you can televise and advertise these high powered offenses back when Brady was playing and Manning
Yep.
and all that, not being able to punch back didn't make a lot of sense. So I think a lot of people are only wishing, that this had happened earlier so that guys like Josh Allen could have proven their case in
Mm,
games like that. Now there's no guarantee that the Bills would have won that game. They could have tied it, and then who knows what would have happened after that. But I think that I speak for probably a large majority of NFL fans that say this should have happened earlier. It's been a long time coming.
Yep.
I understand where it came from when the
mm-hmm.
NFL made the move. They were doing everything they could to shorten the games to make it a more palatable, smaller plate for the fans. And we all understood the sentiment, but I mean, you could tell for the first time that the rule was put in action that it was just not a good rule. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how it didn't last more than, or how it lasted more than 2 seasons.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. And then Cody, what do you think of this rule, or do you agree with the original stance of the first possession and first touchdown wins the game?
Now I'm with the other guys. I'm glad that they've done this. I think it's been this way in the postseason, right? For the last 2 years, they've been able to go back and forth and basically kind of sudden death, or not sudden death, but go back and forth in overtime. I mean, I don't know why they didn't just make it for for playoffs and regular season. I don't know why it was just for playoffs, but yeah, like we said, this is an offensive league now, so offenses are going to score. You give Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson an opportunity to score in overtime. They're most likely going to do it, especially
Mm-hmm.
that late in the game. Guys are tired, things like that. So I think this makes it a lot more fair. yeah, I know defense is half the game, but it still makes it a lot more fair. If your team gives up that touchdown, you get a chance to go right back and score.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I didn't know about that rule. I guess like I've been watching football for maybe about 10 years now, and for some reason I didn't pay attention to that rule. It was my partner who said like, why is it like that the first touchdown wins the game and only one team has that possession at that point? Like, why is that even fair? I'm like, oh, you actually brought up a really good point. So like that kind of made me realize like, you know what? He is absolutely right. At first I was like, oh, I guess if that's the rule, that's the rule. But like I think was it the Philadelphia Eagles that brought that up? I'm pretty sure that rule where they said like they should have at least another possession, like the other team should have possession of the ball and things like that. So I think I'm with you guys. I don't think anybody anywhere. I would be very surprised if somebody said no. I agree with the original rule. And what if they do, guys? What if they do agree with the original rule? Because originally I was just like, well, I can't do anything about it. So like it is what it is, right? So I'm gonna go to Cody first. Cody, what do you think? Like to people that actually agree with the original rules, like, that's too bad for you. Like you just lose the game. Like what do you say to people that agree with that sentiment?
I mean, I can hear their arguments. Like they said,
Yeah.
okay, if your defense is good enough, you should be able to get a stop and then
Yes.
score. And then
Mhm.
the whole safety argument, these guys have already played a whole game. Now they got to play another quarter, basically. They get hurt again. So I can understand the arguments a little bit. But I mean, as you can see, when you just look at the TV ratings, stuff like that, like fans want more football, so they can
Yeah.
care less. Like they just want you want to have a chance to see the other team get an opportunity on the offensive side, especially now that the league is such an offensive league, get an opportunity to tie. So I can understand their arguments, but I don't agree at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah, from a
exactly.
money standpoint, more football means more commercials. You know,
Mm.
that's where the cash flow comes in. I
Yeah.
feel like the only person that's like really stern on the like, oh, you scored the first time, guess it's over, is your girlfriend that you said you'd hang out with her once the game's over.
Exactly. Josh, do you agree with that? Do you agree with the guys and what they're saying, or do you think like all of a sudden if this is the rule, this is the rule, but now it's changed?
Again, I'll keep going back and forth of a standpoint, of player standpoint, and fan standpoint.
Mm.
100% with offense, yeah, we're put it up. Your defense is too trash to stop us, then that's on you. Get better, be better.
Mm.
As almost a fan standpoint too, where it's like, God, our team is put up, we got a touchdown. God, really don't want the other person to have the ball score on us too. Let's shut that down. Please, we're just hanging on by a thread.
Exactly, guys. This is a really good rule. This was actually like out of all the lists of rules that we came up with amongst the four of us, this was actually my favorite. To be honest with you guys. And then the next one that I wanted to touch on, something that Cody brought up as he was the first one to answer my question about what topic should we talk about today or this week. So he said, should the tush push rule be banned or not? So Cody, I'm going to go to you. Give the audience a little bit of context about what that rule is and then what your opinion is on that.
Okay. So the tush push, everybody kind of knows it from the Eagles and what they run. It's where they have the two running backs get behind Jalen Hurts and he kind of just pushes forward. They push him from behind. And I mean, I think they average like 2 to 3 yards per play for that. And it's basically automatic on a 4th and 1 or a 1st and goal on the 1 yard line. It's pretty much an automatic play for them. Everybody else that's kind of tried to run it, they've ran it to some success. But for the Eagles, it's an automatic play. And they've been trying. I know that teams and coaches have wanted to ban it for years because like it is an automatic play. It's kind of more of a rugby play versus like a football play. And then there is kind of like the safety factor. There's a lot of people like in the middle of that. Like it's kind of like you're underneath the wreckage and everything when you're in that. To me, I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest, when it comes with this issue, because I get that, like, yes, it's an automatic play and it should people are against that, but it's also just like they've kind of found that loophole. And I mean, being a Patriots fan, we found loopholes for years. So and so it's like they found that loophole, and they're the only team that can run it that well because of Jalen Hurts, his size, and the fact that he squats like 600 pounds or whatever. He's just that strong quarterback. So like, I don't know. I could see why people want to ban it because it's not really a football play, the safety factor, and it's an automatic play. But also just like it's kind of just sounds like people are just, you can't stop it. So let's ban it.
Yeah, no, I agree, Cody. Like, I, I don't think that, like, I get it. It's not like a football play, but at the same time, like, sure, fine. It is what it is, and it's not like it's illegal or anything like that, unless
Right.
they make it illegal. But like, it's not like it's just like, if you can't stop it, then that's just too bad. You should think of a way to stop it as a team, right? So I'm gonna go to Josh next. What do you think about the tush push rule? Do you think it should be banned? Do you think that you agree with Cody and I's sentiments? What do you think?
As somebody who is not the biggest fan of the Eagles, so my biasness will come out a little bit here. I say we should ban it because I feel like it is like a cheat code, like a glitch in Madden. If you were to play, like it's unbeatable no matter what. It beats no matter who you put in front of it. It stops. But flip side, again, I understand if it's not much of a cheat code if no other team can do it as well as they can.
Yeah.
So that's your fault if your quarterback, can't, squat like 600 plus pounds and you don't have somebody super strong, to put behind you, whatnot. Because at the end of the day, it is a glorified QB sneak. But with people, sneak up the middle, that's why other teams, if they don't have that big, strong quarterback, they'll go grab a tight end to essentially take
Yeah.
go under center and take the ball himself or whatever.
Mm.
I understand them trying to other teams wanting to ban it because of potential injury concerns, even though there was none reported. The NFL medical analysis people have said that, but even though it's none reported, it's still a concern that if it were to be an injury, that stuff goes back because people are diving at each other's knees and legs and trying to hit it over the top. Which then, if it could be devastating if that were to come to play.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, exactly. Jackson, what do you think about this rule?
It's a really interesting statistic that you brought up that there was no injuries recorded. I really like that we're able to add that kind of context. It's not a natural football play, but the current culture of the NFL can only define what a natural football play is, right? You see guys now defensively lining up sideways. And by sideways, I mean like the offensive line is right here and the D line should be facing them. And you have a guy facing parallel to the line so that he can almost like roll himself under to try to do something.
Yeah.
Obviously, that can hurt someone. But I mean, when the forward pass was invented by the University of North Carolina in the early 1900s or whatever, right?
Oh man,
They were a lot better at it than other teams were, right? And if we had banned that, football wouldn't be what it is today. I
Yeah.
don't think that the tush push will revolutionize football like the forward pass did because it almost like progresses backwards as far as the evolution of football. I was really strong in the opinion that people were arguing against the tush push when they started 4 years ago when they were doing it, like
Yeah.
at the very, very conception of it, because of the safety, because they were already so good at it, when Jason Kelsey was the anchor of that tush push. And now he's come out and complained about it since he's retired. But my argument was always, well, Philly hasn't won a Super Bowl doing it. So, it's not like it's unbeatable in that fashion. Like they've been beaten at some point to not win the Super Bowl, but now they've done that. So, I don't know if I'm 100% on banning it yet. I would say maybe if it proves to not have changed at all in the next season, like if for some reason Philly is the only team that can still do it well and the other teams can't, Philly goes and wins another championship due to their strong run game, their performances in the fourth and short, and no other team can somehow duplicate that, maybe. But I'm kind of on the argument, like it all goes back to what Josh had said about having a quarterback that squats like 600 pounds. Go pay one. Go find
Yeah.
someone that squats 600
right.
pounds and put them in. Go hire an offensive line coach that can figure out how to push the ball forward.
Right.
Now, if the game starts being like, okay, every drive has a tush push, yes, let's ban it. Let's go back to good football that we can sell. But the tush push happens 3 times a game
Yeah.
at the most.
Right.
So I think it's still like an accessory. It's this like boutique play, although boutique is a little too dainty for what happens in that pile. But it's something that like you don't use all the time. So until a team becomes entirely reliant on it, I'm not really in support of banning it.
Yeah, I think we're all, for the most part, agree that we're either on the fence or we're saying like I'm not really sure we should ban it yet. I think Josh is the only one I think that was saying that like we should ban it, but he understands the other point of view, so it's not like we're totally in agreement with banning it or not. So I'm gonna leave it to be right now. We're gonna go to something that Cody, I believe, brought up, and then Josh kind of echoed that sentiment with this topic. It is using some sort of Hawkeye technology for measuring first downs electronically. So, Cody, again, since you pretty much brought this up first, I'm gonna go to you. I'm gonna say, what is the rule exactly, and how do you feel about it?
Okay, so the NFL is kind of going away from the chain gang, the guys that run out there and they measure it with their
Yeah,
chain, whatever. What they're going to is, that Hawkeye technology. It's kind of supposed to be similar to like what tennis does to like do the in out of bounds and things like that, or what the VAR is kind of like in soccer as well, is what I've heard.
yeah,
But it's going to be more of a technology to go ahead and measure the first downs or where they're at on the field. And in my opinion, I don't know why it took so long to get to this. Like we're in 2025. And I
yeah.
mean, I love the chain gang guys. They're kind of like comical at this point. They run out and they pull the chains and whatever. And so it's just kind of comical, but it's like, I can't believe in 2024 that we were still using that. And so it's like, it's good that you have some sort of technology like that. I guess they're still going to have the chain gang guys on the sideline to kind of move for first downs, but that's
Mhm.
really all their job is. They're not going to be the ones that are going to determine whether they got a first down or not. And we talked about, the whole overtime rule was kind of the Buffalo Bills rule in the first topic.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a little bit of a Buffalo Bills rule as well, because a lot of people thought they got a first down against the Chiefs in the championship game, and maybe if you didn't have a chain gang or something like that, you had a technology, maybe they do get a first down. So I think it was just way overdue to get
Mhm.
something like this in the NFL.
Exactly. Jackson, what do you think about this rule about using that technology to measure first downs?
I think in the spirit of fairness, it's a no-brainer, but I'm actually
Mm,
going to take a pretty heartfelt stance against it. It's kind of like the umpire in baseball, right? We've got the technology to make a strike zone, and now it just essentially just criticizes the umpire, right? Like we've got, and you can challenge it, and so it kind of undermines the authority of the umpire. I'm kind of all for the chain gang and just the kind of the culture of football that the chain gang represents, right? It's
mm,
kind of the bare bones. It's our call upon history. It's what we've had for so long, right? And it's not the most harmful thing in the world. Like, yes, there are arguments against, oh, he should have gotten a first down there. They should have gotten a first down. There's probably going to be big moments where a mistake like that happens, right? Just like umpires make bad calls in the heat of games, right? I just think that there's almost just this like historical factor to it for me that I'm like, I like to see that there's a chain gang that trots out there. It's these like 2 to 4 super unathletic, non-affiliated guys that just kind of trot out there. There's a ribbon somewhere in the middle, and like no one really fully understand. I know that I know that there's a reason for it, but like most people, you're just like, why is there a ribbon there? What is the ref doing? Like setting it, Like it's
mm,
this almost like goofy, like call upon history that I really enjoy. And so, you know, I think maybe that can be something, the Hawkeye technology could be something that we use to challenge things in the final 2 minutes of games, but
mm,
allow kind of the good old fashioned type of football to remain for the rest. Maybe playoff games we go entirely Hawkeye just in the spirit of fairness, just like we had the overtime rules just in the playoffs for a little bit. This is all just kind of brainstorming here, but I like the chain gang. I realize they're still going to be there, but if we have the Hawkeye technology, we're using it all the time, and the chain gang's still there. Like they're just standing there. Like there's no need for them to be
yeah,
there.
exactly. And Josh, what do you think? We have two opposing opinions right now. Which side are you gonna go on?
I think you really make an argument for either way. Aesthetics, I really do appreciate, watch them two long orange sticks. Just kind of give a good example of what Jackson said, kind of like history. Essentially, you just kind of be able to appreciate it, as well as like you do kind of appreciate the, I won't say adrenaline rush, but in the sense of like, oh, this is close. If you turn one
The
down,
anticipation, right?
Yeah,
yeah, just
yeah,
watching them be able to trot out there, athletic or not. Watch like, oh, the game about to boil down to this now. Like, oh, what's about to happen? Everybody's just ever stopping what they're doing, to stop eating, drinking, breathing, everything between to see what's about to come out. And of the when somebody bought like a little postcard or something or whatever it was, a note card, because it was so slim pickings. Is
Wow.
that part I do appreciate, but like Jackson saying that for fairness wise, sure, and when Cody was saying, yeah, I would think it would make it better. I think they would have adopted this sooner. 'Cause I did see through games previously where they made the argument that because there is some high skyline cameras going on the sideline, that they would not be able to use that because not every stadium has had the resource and the means to be able to use that. So it can't benefit one set of games and not the other set of games. So now I think across all stadiums, it will make it essentially mandatory for them to implement the resources and whatnot to build it into the stadiums. So it is to watch up and down the sideline and whatnot. And it does have that factor of the whole, like Cody brought up, the whole tennis ball thing. You watch almost like the cartoon thing go across and see where fans that. But I think that would be kind of cool too, and stop any arguments and debate that somebody might have, like if it was a first down or not, or anything short of that.
Yeah,
There is-
exactly. Yep, go ahead.
There is nothing like that drop of the stick where they stretch the chain out all the way and it's still in the air. It plunges down, and you see the ball and your team's in it, so you're really invested. You're at the edge of your seat. Looks like it's going to hit the tip of the ball, but there's that inch and a half that's in between or whatever. You can't replace that. There's no, like, you're going to sit on the edge of your seat for the ruling by the technology, but there's nothing like that chain drop where it like hits the ground right by the ball.
Yep.
Exactly. I think I agree mostly with Cody's sentiments. I know Josh kind of went like back and forth and gave arguments for both sides. I agree with Jackson a bit too. It's kind of hard for me to really form an opinion because I do like the chain gang. I think it's like, in the spirit of tradition and history, like that totally makes sense why Jackson brought that up and why many people would be like, no, we want to keep them. But at the same time, I feel like certain rules should have been done like ages ago, and this is maybe one of those rules if you want to argue for that team. I think that, I think if we would have done something about it, it would have been like, eons ago, but now it's being brought up. So we'll see what happens, guys. And then we're going to talk about something that Josh brought up, which is touchbacks moved to the 35-yard line. Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna save my sentiments for second last. I'm gonna go to Josh. Why don't you explain this rule? I guess it's not really hard to explain, but at the same time, what is your stance on it?
So as it's progressed from like 20, 25, 30, but now it's up to the 35. I've always hated when kickers do touchback. I think it's kind of cowardly. And I guess as a returner, you'll be flattered. Like, sure, you don't kick me at the same time. Bored one night. Oh, there it goes again. Next possession. Oh, there it goes again. And I think that kind of takes out the competition of it. And I think it's going to make it almost once they punish the kickers, but in a sense, like, okay, sweet. If you want to boot it down there, sweet. Here we go. Now we're 35-yard line and one first down. Now you're already essentially in midfield and not maybe first down away already from a field goal distance. So I think it's a nice not punish, but make it part of a regular play and make you really the team like analyze it. Do we take this chance to kick it to this returner because they're kind of explosive? Do we trust our kickoff team to stay in the lanes and go make the tackle and stop them short of it? So I think it's be real competitive either way, and special teams coordinators and whatnot are gonna have to think a little bit harder on what they want to do and how they want to approach this.
Yeah, exactly. Jackson, what do you think about this rule? Are you for it or are you against it? What's your stance?
I'd be really interested to see what it creates for this year. Like if there are a lot more returns resulting from it. If so, then I'm all in favor, right? I like the kick return. I think it's a great play in football. If it just still leads to touchbacks because now the receiving team is trying everything they can to make sure there's a touchback, I realize now there's like a landing zone where you have to return it. So, that's up to the kickers. But I think if we keep on having this back and forth between the kicking team and the receiving team and like who strategically is trying to create touchbacks at all times, Yeah, I love the kickoff, but at some point maybe it's got to go. If we're just not gonna, if no one wants to do it, like if no team wants to kick the ball to the returner, or if no team wants to return it, at some point maybe the game has evolved past it. Maybe we're taking a certain amount of touchbacks and a certain there's maybe a certain regression of kick return touchdowns to where, or even massive kick returns, to where they're not a game changing play anymore. And then maybe we discuss taking it out of the game. I would hate to see it go. I loved it, right? Like I was that I was that kid. I played tight end. I wanted to drop back. I was in that like second line that should
Mhm.
always be blocking, but I would pray and pray for like a pooch kick, and coaches yelling fair catch, and I'm like, hell no, I'm catching this ball. And the kickoff is just such an energetic play. I hope that they can figure out a way to continue to make it an impactful part of the sport. But the way it's looking, both sides of the ball really seem to be kind of phasing out of it. Seem to be disinterested in the whole kick return on its own. So,
Yeah.
maybe we're only a couple of years away from just completely abolishing it, which is sad. But if it's a gradual loss, then I think we'll all maybe be ready for it by the time it comes around.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Sorry,
go
can I
ahead.
jump in on that part?
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
I mean, it's great points. I mean, it would really suck for it to evolve because there have been players in the NFL who would almost solely make the NFL Hall of Fame because
Yep.
of the kick return ability.
Slater for the
Yeah,
Patriots fans.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
for sure. Yeah, Matt Slater, for sure. He's like
Goat.
8-time Pro Bowler, just basically on that. So yeah, and then his punt return or his punt skills too. Yeah, so
God, that was beautiful. But yeah, that was like if it didn't, did he decline into that situation? Yeah, like I said, guys did solely almost make the NFL because of their kick return and punt return abilities, Hester and whatnot.
Yeah.
As well as the big game changing things of like, what was it, the Ravens versus the 49ers,
yeah.
Ravens player, I forgot what his name off the top of my head, but he returned that sucker all the way down. It's also it can be a big change in momentum in a game too.
Yeah.
Like that's the spark that your team needs. You've been dying, you've been clawing and whatnot to get something to get your team going, and you have your kick return, house that thing. Your fans go crazy, and now your whole team's bought in. I said, let's do this. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's how some guys make their keep in the league. It's how they prove themselves.
Yeah.
Especially DBs and linebackers.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's how they make it into the defense, showing that they are dynamic and that they want it and that they can make an impact on the field. So yeah, I would really hate to see that happen because there's so many great players who that's the chance that they're given. And if that's taken away, we might miss out on some really fun faces in the NFL. So, and you're right. I mean, it's a complete game changer. It's also the same for the kicking team. If you have a big hit on a kickoff, knocks the ball loose, or just flat out like crush a guy, the whole stadium feels it, right? You can hear the crack of the pads.
Yeah.
It's you don't hear it a ton in play anymore, just because they're so discouraged from making hits on receivers now, and running backs are becoming tanks themselves, so they're quite hard to tackle.
Yeah.
You're having to be more strategic about it. But also, I mean, I think that the kickoff they're trying to get rid of the big hits, but it's still that last remaining thing where you can still lay a lick on someone and the whole stadium can feel it and that energy can come, right? And you've got that young guy who hasn't had his chance yet, just absolutely bruise up a kick returner. Now your defense is energized, running out on the field. They're all smacking on the guy's helmet. They're ready to go lay a hit themselves. Like, yeah, I think the kickoff still is really important. And, I'm not in favor of it being phased out, but I'm just saying it may end up trending in that direction.
And speaking of that too, one last thing. Sorry,
No,
but
it's okay.
also how a lot of guys will also make the team is off of special teams and whatnot too. So you got like a guy who's a 4th round, 5th round guy. He's trying to make that 53-man roster at the end. By the time it's all said and done, and if you cut that out, then you're really limiting the chances, to make a shot to try to make a team for a living.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Cody, I'm gonna go to you. I understand. Like, it's funny because like when I first read this rule that Josh said, I was kind of outraged, but for like my own reasons, and I will say that in a little bit. But like, what do you think about what they're saying? Do you agree upon like what Jackson and Josh are both saying about the touchbacks or the kicks being such an important part of the game? What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I think this is kind of like the NFL's last effort to keep the kickoff in the game. Because
Mm,
yeah, you putting them out a little bit further, you don't want to have to start on the 35 on defense. So yeah, it's their last ditch effort, and I would hate to see the kickoff go away as well. I'm with them
yeah.
on that because it's such a huge part of the game, like they've said multiple times. I mean, Devin Hester, Dante Hall. There's a number of
Mm,
guys that have made their careers in the NFL by running back kicks and being an explosive kick returner, but also the other guys, the guys that are on the kickoff team or the kick return team that are doing the blocking. Like
mm,
Jackson said, they make a huge block or a huge hit that gets the crowd going, but the coaches notice like, okay, well now this guy can make the roster instead of, maybe not making the roster because this position doesn't even exist anymore. So I'd really hate to see the kickoff go away.
mm.
I have them kind of like Jackson. I think that's kind of the direction they're going. Like if this doesn't change anything, if we still see like 75% of kickoffs or touchbacks and
Yeah,
it doesn't change anything, it's
yeah, yeah.
probably not the kickoff will probably die. But hopefully this changes it a little bit because kickoff is still just, I think, an iconic moment. I mean, that's how you start the game. So I would really not like to see it go away, but I have a feeling that's the direction we're going.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I think like I can see why they decided to move the touchbacks to the 35-yard line. It's like a incentive, and I really get it. It's just that it's crazy, right? Like first it was like one number, then it got moved down, then it's moving like down even more. So like it just kind of makes me kind of outraged that this is what we have to do to get it still here with the kicks and stuff like that. But I agree with everything that you guys are saying. You guys have calmed me down. I am not as outraged as I was in the beginning. But we're gonna move on to something that Josh also mentioned, which is the expansion of the replay assist, which I think we all know what that is. But Josh, why don't you give some context to the audience and then tell me your stance on it?
So basically, I wish this really came to play, no pun
Mhm.
intended, when the Vikings were playing the Rams and Sam Darnold, clear as day, face mask ripping off his shoulder and whatnot, and the ref was literally looking right at him, and the guy right behind also looking right at him. I wish this really would have came to thing. It's a lot of the basically this is meant to for on-site officials, not the guys that hit up in New York or LA or whatnot to do that. It's going to be based on them doing it on site to basically responsibility to fall on them.
Mhm.
It's basically to help out defenseless receivers, face mask, horse collars, and running or roughing into the kicker as well. And when they do look at it, has to be almost like you would say in court, must be clear and obvious video evidence for them to make that call in a sense versus just spitballing and giving it a shot. Like, well, I guess he's probably pretty close. Like, no, it has to be clear, concise, and I'm assuming that they'll show us the same footage as well that they're looking at of them potentially, overturning the flag.
Exactly. Okay, very good. Good example. By the way, because I knew exactly what Josh was talking about. I was like, oh, I know exactly the game that he was talking about. So we're gonna move on to Cody. Cody, what do you think about this replay assist, the expansion of it to make sure everything is clear as day for both teams? What do you think of that?
I'm for it. I mean, like you said in that instance there, I don't know how three refs didn't see Sam Donner almost get his head
Mm.
ripped off, but it didn't happen apparently. So in that situation there, in situations like that, it definitely would help. My only concern is that it's a little bit like streamlined. It's quick because
Mm.
if you watch any like basketball, whether it's college or NBA, they go to the replay and they stand there for it seems like forever, and they're
Yeah.
replaying and looking at it forever. So I'm hoping that it's a little bit quicker because it's like you don't have to do it every play. It's just certain plays like that. So hopefully it's a little bit quicker process. But I do like that because, yeah, like we've talked about before with the changings and other things, like
Mm.
and in baseball, things like that. Human element, people are going to miss things. Refs are going to miss
Yeah.
things. It's going to happen. So this is just to help them in that situation make the right call so it's fair for both teams.
Exactly. I totally agree. Jackson, what do you think about this rule?
Yeah, I was going to pose that question to Josh because I'll be honest, I'm not as versed on this rule proposal. But have they proposed any sort of addition or amendment to this as they're kind of fine tuning it to, satisfy those that are concerned about speed? Because for me, I could see that slowing down the game tremendously. And I'm all about a fair call. I'm the first person to be fairly critical of a ref when they miss something. However, there's a lot of value to keeping the game going. And so there's potential, right? There's potential to have some sort of like AI driven thing in their ear that's like, hey, you missed a face mask. Here's the video, real quick. It takes a minute
Yeah.
instead of, everyone hands on hips, looking at the monitor, all that. Like, two fantastic basketball games this weekend, but goodness, do the last 2 minutes take so long.
Yep.
Now fantastic games, especially the Duke game turned out in my favor. Tar Heel fan here. So I was very happy to see Houston get the job done. But once again, I would really like to see if they implement this, because it's definitely a good call. It's a good direction that the league is taking this. They need to have measures that keep the game speed going.
Yeah, I agree. When Cody brought up that point about like, hopefully it's fast, because a game that's about 2.5 hours long for like a football game can stretch into 3.5 hours if we decide to implement this. And if, like Jackson said, hands on hips, looking at the monitor, just like adding an extra 5-10 minutes onto it, it's gonna be a disaster. Like, I don't think we all want that, but at the same time, yes, I'm here for the fair call, but we gotta streamline it. We gotta make sure we're doing everything more efficiently, so that we don't have to wait 3 or 3.5 hours for a game to end, right at the end of the day.
There have been stadiums that have booed when officials go to the replay more than a couple of times in a short period of time.
Yeah.
This is football, basketball, whatever. Like, I've been in sports arenas where they have gone to the replay too many times and people have booed. Even if that replay overturns it, they're not concerned with the result. They're like, let's get moving. Like, this is still a game. It stops feeling like a sporting event if we're stopping and watching the screen every couple seconds.
Yeah, and then maybe like if that's the case, and we anticipate fans booing because of like a long time for a video review or something like that, then why don't we just like make sure there's all the resources that we have, whether it's like hiring a team, whether it's making sure that every single game has the team that's like there to like really streamline this and make it like really, really fair and fast for everybody. I think that's probably the best situation. What do you think, guys? I'm gonna go to Cody first.
Well, actually, I had a question for Josh on this. Like, so like, is this going to be at any time in the game, or is it like last 5 minutes of the half, like last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter? Like, when is this, or is the replay assist can come in for any play, anytime, anywhere? So I was a little bit worried about that, because I think it would be a difference. Because I think in basketball, especially in college, I think it's just the last 2 minutes of the game where they can go to the replay assist. And it can extend it another 15, 20, 30 minutes. But so I was wondering if there's like some parameters there for the NFL as well.
Yeah, I've not got the full-on details of that, so I don't want to just make up something. One would assume that would possibly just be in the fourth quarter overtime or 2 minutes, something like that. But one would assume something like that, like a 2-minute warning kind of concept. But I'm assuming it's probably still in development. I can definitely do more research on it, and I give you guys more of a concrete response for that.
For sure, guys. And one of the last topics, not going to be the last topic because I have a surprise topic for you guys, which is not going to be much of a surprise. But Josh brought up the whole modified uniform policy rule, and that's actually my second favorite rule that we are going to discuss in this list of rules that are changing or staying or whatever, right? So, Josh, why don't you give context, since I believe in the chat we weren't too familiar about this rule until you kind of just like opened it up and said like this and this is happening, and then we're all like, we love it. So why don't you explain to the audience what that is and then what your stance is?
All right, so instead of teams only having, whether it's alternate uniforms, like how they want to switch it up, or have as like throwbacks, like I have over you with Dino Hunter and the Ronnie Moss jersey over there, want to send just throwback jerseys, where teams up to 4 times they can do that in total. To mix it up a little bit. I don't know why. They have a cap on it, regardless, because if you want to promote those jerseys and whatnot, that's going to bring in more revenue and bring in more attention to fans, like to want to buy, to bring in and whatnot. Kind of a little fun factor, especially if like say a little munchkin who's never had a chance to thought, the current uniforms what always has been, and then you throw a different jersey in the mix, like, oh damn, that's so cool. Like, else from the '60s, man, and whatnot. So I think we can all appreciate whether it's the Seahawks OG jersey, the Tampa Bay creamsicle jerseys, the Titans Oilers jerseys,
Mm,
anything else between, or the Pat Patriot or whatever
yep.
that OG jersey as well too. I think
Blues.
is all pretty awesome too, and I like the change of it. Hopefully, they can keep bumping that number up.
Okay, Jackson, I'm gonna go to you next. What do you think about this rule? I'm pretty sure we all kind of shared that in our chat, but I'm gonna ask you again. What do you think?
I've got a question. I don't know if anyone has the answer to. In college, is there any cap on the alternate uniforms that they can do?
No, yeah, you could see with Oregon, they have basically a different uniform every game. So yeah, no, there's not a cap in
Yeah,
college.
yeah. I don't.
That's what-
Cody said, if you don't think there is a cap, which makes the games just look like, dang, I'm looking at them jerseys are crispy.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like if college has no cap on it and they've got the resources to make these new jerseys, and it sells. It just doesn't just sell jerseys. It sells seats for Oregon games.
Yeah.
People are fascinated with the different jersey concepts that they come up with. Some of them have been misses. You've seen some schools try to recreate that, like Michigan State with their neon rendition. That was hideous, right? But it's fun. It just adds another element of fun to the game. So I think even having a cap in the NFL goes way back to when we were calling them the no fun league, when they were banning celebrations and all those things. And they've started to peel back on that, allowing like team celebrations and really encouraging, of course, appropriate celebrations. So yeah, maybe they'll keep walking this one back, and eventually there won't be any regulations on jerseys. Like as long as the jerseys meet the regulations that make them like a standard NFL jersey, we're not doing like sleeveless jerseys or whatever, kind of like the NBA was experimenting with like the short sleeve jerseys. And I think those looked cool, but they were kind of a miss. The players didn't like them. They weren't comfortable. I personally thought they looked a little odd, because they kind of looked like everyone was wearing undershirts, but like the same undershirt.
Yeah.
And some of those undershirt concepts actually make players distinctive. Like Anthony Davis was known for his t-shirt underneath and all that. More well known, of course, for his unibrow. But I think that I hope that they continue walking this back, because not only am I excited to see throwback jerseys, my franchise is only like 27 years old. I'm a Panthers fan, so like we don't have huge throwbacks. But I do love to see the throwbacks for, like you said, the creamsicle. I think is one of the best jerseys in NFL history. Same with Pat the Patriot. I don't think it's the most aesthetically pleasing, but it has the history and the fun drawback and all that. So yeah, I don't see, why we would limit teams doing that. It almost brings more of an element of fun of like, what jersey are they going to come out with this time? And people follow those things statistically. For example, I'm a Carolina fan, of course. I say it all the time. They had these uniforms called the Stormtrooper uniforms, and it was all white. So white lids, white jerseys, white pants, the whole get up. They were 0-8 in the Stormtrooper uniforms. So they didn't wear them for I want to say 6 years.
Yeah.
Because it was the superstition. Fans were like, no, we can't wear the Stormtrooper uniforms. Like, we will lose that game. Meanwhile, it was the cleanest uniform I have ever seen. Like, if you guys get a chance, look up the UNC Stormtrooper uniforms, and they are gorgeous.
They were.
Because that Carolina blue accented across the all-white jerseys, especially for a just nasty, rainy, muddy game too, where you ruin them like that. That's true football. That I love the glam and the fashion, and then the dirt and the grind. So yeah, I'm excited to see the NFL walk it back and hopefully encourage some unique jersey designs. I'm hoping it's not just like the old historic alternates, but maybe some new jersey concepts that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I'm so glad that Josh brought this up, because I think I've only had out of all the 10 jerseys that I have for football, not all Patriots ones. I do have an Aaron Rodgers one. I have this Christian McCaffrey one, but I haven't really explored much of the older generations jerseys, and I did see a few of them back then on clips and stuff like that. But it's actually really interesting to me, and I might actually really get into it, especially the old 80s, 90s get up. That's kind of where I thrive in terms of fashion. So that'd be really cool. Cody, what do you think about this? Do you agree with what Jackson and Josh are saying?
Yeah, I completely agree. It adds excitement. It adds, I mean, and what's the NFL about? Money. So you're getting more merchandise
Yeah.
sales. You're selling more jerseys, things like that. And yeah, I love the throwbacks, of course, of Pat Patriot. I think my favorite actually is the powder blues of the Chargers when they pull those out. I love those as well.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it just brings a lot more excitement. And I mean, every now and then I'll go on to look for a jersey on like Fanatics or whatever, and there's always like a black Patriots one. I'm like, I've never even seen them wear that before. It'd be cool to see that. It's like it's not
Yeah.
worth buying the jersey if they never wear it. So yeah, I'm with Jackson and Josh. You watch college football, and there's certain like traditional colleges that will always just wear their traditional uniforms. That's how they
Yeah.
roll. And then you have Oregon and Michigan State and teams like that, Virginia Tech, things like that, will throw out just a ton of different uniforms. And it's like, this is cool. This gives their fans opportunities to see what they're going to wear that day. It's just a cool, exciting element that you could bring to the game. And like you said, the No Fun League brings some fun to the game. These younger players want to have more fun and things like that. So I think this is huge. It's not just going to be throwback uniforms. I think teams will experiment with it and do some other uniforms, which would be cool to see.
My only Patriots jersey is that black jersey you're talking about. Bought it at J.C. Penney on the way to my first Patriots game, and it is a Mac Jones jersey. So man, is it a miss? It's a number 10, and I'm a Drake May fan.
I say just put May over the top of Jones.
Yeah, I can workshop it.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like that. They've never worn that. I'd love to be able to see them play a game with that on. It'd be cool to see as well.
Exactly, guys. That was actually one of the most interesting topics, I think, and Josh, thank you for bringing that up. That was really cool. We didn't really know about it until we brought it up in the chat, and everyone's like, love it, love it. Like, and it's not like just, let's think about other sports, right? Like, baseball is like the prime example of like a sport where you have like tons of versions of jerseys, whether it's throwbacks, whether it's like, like because I'm from Toronto, so we have the Toronto Connect jersey, then we have the powder blue jersey. Like there's so much, and then I'm like, I need to get all of them. Like it works, it makes me want to buy them, right? So I'm surprised that like the NFL hasn't really thought about this, or maybe was more stricter on it before, and now they're saying like, oh, this is actually a really good franchise merchandise building kind of element. What do you guys think before I move on to our surprise topic of the night? Do you have anything else to say? Are we all good? We're down.
If you're looking for a really good-looking baseball jersey,
yes,
East Carolina's powdered purple jerseys. Look that up. It is the most gorgeous baseball jersey I've ever seen. I'm not an East Carolina fan by any means, but they showed up a couple of years ago against Carolina, and in those powder purples, and they're gorgeous. I mean, my brother has one. He goes to ECU, and it's a good look. It's a good looking jersey.
I'll have to look it up now. I'm curious
I'm curious because if you guys can't see I have purple hair. Purple is my favorite color. Like Jackson,
be a full fit.
Told me, man. Exactly. Vikings. There you go. See, like we're all in accordance to this.
We're all gonna show up in a couple weeks with that jersey on,
right?
On a football podcast. That'd be hilarious. Okay, guys. So I thought of, because I knew that we were running through these topics real fast because we all have our definite topics, and I didn't think we like really disagreed maybe a few times during this chat and in this live stream. But the NFL draft is coming up in 18 days. April 24th to Saturday, April 26th. And it's going to be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and that's going to be the first round. And I believe that whoever created this whole setup for us said that they posed a question at the top, and you guys can probably read it. Will Cam Ward be a boom or a bust? And we all know who's going to go for it, which team is going to go for it. The Tennessee Titans are probably going to go for it because they really need that quarterback situation fixed up. So I'm going to go to Cody first. Do you think Cam Ward is going to be a boom or a bust? Or do you think he'll just be okay like certain quarterbacks that we've seen?
I mean, I've heard that's basically a lock that he's going number one to the Titans. But if I had to choose right now, like gun to my head, I'd probably lean more towards bust. And it's nothing to do with Cam Ward. I think it's more to do with the organization he's going to and just kind of the setup there. I don't really believe in the Titans kind of direction. Brian Callahan's their second-year coach. It was kind of a weird hire, I thought, when they hired him. But I'd probably lean more towards bust just because, like I said, the organization's not going in the right direction. They don't really have a ton of weapons to kind of help him along the way. Their defense is pretty good, but not great. So as of right now, just because of the situation he's going to, I'd probably have to lean towards bust. But I do like him as a prospect. I think if he went to a better situation, I think he could be a successful player. But I think he's going to have to overcome a lot in Tennessee to really be successful.
Okay, Jackson, what do you think? Do you agree with what Cody says, or do you think maybe he can overcome this and become a booming superstar that we know that they want in that team?
I've looked at the Titans a couple of times, and so I wanted to go ahead and pull up their depth chart again just to take another look at their roster surrounding him on offense. They've got a lot of receivers and weapons around him that used to be big names, right? Calvin Ridley being one of them. Even like Van Jefferson has had better years. And then Chigoziem Okonkwo, their tight end, he's a solid was a solid tight end, right? Like I think at this point they've got guys that like, even Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is great in Dallas, and obviously he's not really shining in that RB1 role. But he's a talented back, or at least was. They've got a lot of guys that, I think are kind of past their prime. And then the only guy on the opposite end of that spectrum is Treylon Burks, who just hasn't really panned out to what any of us thought to be. Yeah. I like to take my credit where it's due and say that in a room full of my fraternity brothers back in college, I called that Amon-Ra St. Brown would be an absolute hit. He wasn't, the highest drafted guy to the best team at the time. I just really felt like he was going to go off given his tape from USC and kind of the situation he was being put in Detroit. But I also said the same thing about Treylon Burks, and so I'm not batting 100, right, or 1,000. I'm not hitting everything I swing at. So it's like it's not an exciting offense to put him in. They're not the worst roster around him by any means. I also really like James Proche when he was drafted by I think the Ravens, but now he's on the Titans unless that is it was the Browns. I think he was on the Ravens first. I'm fairly sure he's on the Ravens at one point. I don't know. He's got the talent. I think he's going to be one of those guys that gets thrust into a situation where they need him too bad. They need too much of him too early. Yeah. And he's not able to do that. They don't have the most impressive O-line. They don't have a ton of weapons around him. I think that, they've already taken a young quarterback and asked them to do too much, and they've cracked under that pressure, and that's Will Levis. Of course, I think Cam Ward is much more talented than Will Levis. However, I still think that you have to be a different level of great to overcome that many challenges, and they haven't built enough around him yet to really make him a good quarterback this year.
It's a good point, Jackson. But what I want to know, and I don't have the stats like right in front of me, because if not, then I'm gonna leave the screen. It's gonna look weird. So I don't know how many picks they have, like for the Tennessee Titans. I obviously know they're number one for the overall pick, but if they had more, picks, then they can maybe try to work on their O-line and try to overcome those challenges. What do you guys think? I'm gonna go to Josh right now.
To be honest, I don't know how many picks or what picks they have.
Yeah. I've got it pulled up if you guys want that information.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with Jackson first, then we'll go to Josh. Then.
Yeah. So I won't answer any of those questions for you, Josh, but I'll just essentially say they've got obviously the number one overall pick, and they have the number one pick in the second round. They have two picks in the fourth round. They have no third round pick. 2 picks in the fifth. And then 1 pick in both the 6th and the 7th. And I can find where those specifics are, but given the snake order of the draft, they probably will, not the snake order of the draft, given the order of the draft, typically it should be an earlier pick, but I'll find those.
Yeah. Okay. So Josh, knowing that information, what do you think about Cam Ward? Boom or bust, despite all the challenges that he has to go through?
Kind of what Cody brought up. He can be a really good player in the right situation. Is Titans the right situation and the best fit? I don't know. It's not promising. Just seeing how, honestly, Cam Ward's a better prospect than Will Levis, Mr. Mayo Boy himself. But I definitely think if they can hit on that pick and all the picks they have, and especially have multiple picks and multiple rounds, trade up to get my man some more weapons and wanted to have a chance to succeed. And maybe also at the same time, Willis is not panning out as what they hope to, that I'm sitting on the bench a little bit, kind of get a feel for the game, build some mental reps in his head on and off the field. through practice and film sessions, so he can get his feet ready instead of having him shake up his confidence in a negative way, to the point he might damper him and essentially have him fail, unfortunately. So if they don't do that, hopefully they do right by him.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all know that if you have a star quarterback or someone that could be a star quarterback, you can't just rely on them, and you can't just have expectations of them, right off the bat without any help, without any support, right? So I think that knowing that they have the first overall pick and the first pick in the second round and two in the fourth round and another one in the fifth, you can 100% build around him and give him the best O-line, the best resources, the best support. Hopefully they're like that. I'm not 100% sure about the organization and who calls the shots and who decides on what's going to happen, but hopefully I would want to do that if I have someone like Cam Ward, right? All the talent in the world just needs that support. He needs that. And what do you guys think? I think you guys are all shaking your heads, nodding your heads in a good way. I think we're all in agreement with that. Jackson, do you have something to say about that?
It looks like a lot of mock drafts are showing the Titans are going to trade that first pick from the second round to just have more draft capital in the draft. I think that makes sense. They have so many needs to address. Yeah. It's a really valuable pick. There's a lot of great guys in the first round, but this is a great draft class to be drafting in the second round. They're projected to maybe draft in this mock draft that I'm looking at to draft 50th, which is the last pick of the second round. That's incorrect. Sorry. It's just the end of the page. They're projected to trade back to 50th in the second round and take an edge rusher, which I think would help, but doesn't really help the excitement around Cam Ward. Obviously, their defense is pretty porous, so they also need help on defense. You can't just go an offense-only draft, as we have seen teams do in the past, or defense-only, as the Panthers did, I think, 3 years ago or 4 years ago or something like that. Yeah. Obviously, it went so fantastic for them because we're such a great organization now. But I kind of agree with that. Just trading back and getting more capital, taking more picks. Yeah. Maybe also bolster your defense, but really, if you want to sell tickets, you got to put guys around Cam Ward. A bad defense is something that you can deal with for 2 years while you workshop a good offense around him. Jaden Daniels, for example, they can build that defense later, and they need to be contenders. Right. But if you don't put guys around Cam, your fans are going to be pretty upset with you not giving him the resources. Fans are getting smarter. They don't just they don't just get mad at no success. They will get mad at management, and they'll tell management what they're doing wrong.
That's a good point. Now, for some reason, and you guys, if you've heard me, Josh is pretty new. This is his second time with us in a live stream, but I like to refer to one quarterback all the time when it comes to talking about topics about just potential quarterbacks and things like that in the NFL. Tua is one of the situations that for some reason, when Jackson talks about you have to garner that support and that O-line and not focus on the defense, that with the Miami Dolphins, that reminds me so much of Tua. The fact that obviously we talked about sure, he's very injury prone. That's fine. But is it because of the O-line? Because he's just unlucky? Is it because there's so many factors, right? So that's just a prime example, in my opinion, of someone who doesn't have necessarily all that support, the best O-line. He does not have that, obviously. That's why, things happen to him, unfortunately. But I would hate to see something like that happen for someone like Cam Ward. What do you guys think, Cody?
Yeah, I would make another example. Jackson's own team, they take Bryce Young 2 years ago in the first round. Don't have offensive line. Your best receiver is an older Adam Thielen, and you kind of are like, okay, we'll go ahead and save the franchise. And he kind of picked it up last year and really kind of turned his career around, but it took a year and a half for that to happen, and that doesn't always happen. You take a year and a half if you haven't picked it up. A lot of guys, their confidence goes away and things like that. So I think maybe you do trade that 33rd pick, which is the first pick of the second round, to get more picks. But I think you definitely should obviously take either weapons or an offensive line just to protect, because Cam Ward's not the biggest guy. It's not like he's like Ben Roethlisberger or Cam Newton out there. He's not the biggest guy. So protect him, make sure that he's not getting hit all the time like Bryce Young did and things like that. But I would love to see him succeed and the Titans succeed, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't believe in the organization going forward, to be honest.
True, guys. So that is it. It is 9 p.m. Eastern time. The last point I want to just bring up is that we do have merch. We have merch. It's the From the Sidelines T-shirt in the colors that Jackson knows because it's like the Carolina Panthers colors, the blue and white colors. So if you guys want to get that, it's on the Sports Fluent website. If you guys want to tune in to this live stream every single week, we go on Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that is it for tonight. See you guys later. Bye.
See ya.
Yes.
Oh, Canada. Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
Nah, they lying to you. It's about the money.
Now you're more fluent.